Recording there. We're recording now. Hello, everybody. My name is Thomas W. Timbrooks. The W stands for Wayne, actually. So I'm just going to say I'm Tom Timbrooks, and I'm running for a U.S. House of Representatives. Those are the guys in Washington, D.C. And that'll be Oregon's Congressional District 6, or 6th Congressional District, however you want to put that. And I am a Republican, running on the Republican platform. So, whatever. So my whole thing is going to be more jobs for Oregon, and that means less dependence on government welfare. So here's the situation with that. Okay, I am a manufacturing engineer. I've got about 35 years of experience working in the manufacturing industry, aerospace, automotive, semiconductor. I know a lot about what the manufacturing industry needs, the requirements, the good things for manufacturing, the things that encourage the manufacturing industry to come to an area. Oregon is a great place, but it's not a great place for companies. A lot of companies are leaving Oregon. A lot of jobs are leaving Oregon. I want to reverse that trend. I want to bring jobs back to Oregon. I want Oregon to prosper and be a much, much better state. I want everybody in Oregon to have a great job, be healthy and happy. And that's just what Republicans are good at. We're good at creating jobs. We're good at getting people to work. So that's my whole platform. So anyways, what I want to do is, what I always do, I talk about my political stance on everything, because I am running for 6th Congressional District, House of Representatives for Washington, D.C. That's a pretty important thing. And I want to talk to everybody that's listening about what my plans are for going down there, okay? And first of all, I want to go over, I've been doing a bunch of these shows, and I've figured out some things that I think are going to be important. So let me get on the slides. And first, I want to talk about some of the stuff that I've already got in the plans, okay? And my number one headliner thing, the big one that I'm kind of proud of, is to remove $5 trillion from the national debt through a circular payoff. And that has to do with, there are government agencies that lend to government agencies that lend to government agencies. And so much money is lent internally that it gets completely lost. And so people don't realize, the government agencies don't realize, hey, we owe them money, they owe them, and then somebody else owes us. We could just, reverse that and get rid of $5 trillion off the national debt. And that would be a good thing, because you see, we, the taxpayers, are paying interest on the national debt. Every dollar of the national debt. And at $5 trillion, that's a lot of money in interest that we, the taxpayer, are paying for. Okay, so if we could just eliminate that debt, then we're paying less in taxes, and our tax dollars have a lot more meaning. So getting rid of $5 trillion in U.S. debt, that's a pretty significant thing, okay? So the proposed 28th Amendment to the Constitution requiring transferring accountability, congressional approved financial incentives. Okay, so in 1936, the Supreme Court made it all right for the Congress to, under the preamble, we have promote the general welfare, financial incentives to non-government organizations is part of the promote the general welfare thing. The problem is that there were never any time limits set, and there's no transparency or anything. So what the 28th Amendment seeks to do is create a part of the executive branch, kind of like DOGE, as a permanent fixture. And the whole purpose of that is going to examine every financial incentive that Congress has ever okayed, and make sure it's doing something for the either infrastructure, jobs, housing, food, or fuel, to get that stuff to the people. So that's what that's going to do. So the 28th Amendment, I think it'd be a good thing. Once I get there, I'll have people look it over. The Digital Security Act, securing America's digital security and creating American jobs by requiring all programmable components to be made in America. So everything that's not made in America, this cell phone has got programmable components in it, okay? If this were made in China, it would actually be irresponsible of the Chinese government not to put some kind of malware, backdoor spyware in here, okay? So if it were made in China, which it's a Galaxy, I believe these are made in Indonesia or Vietnam, something like that. It probably has some kind of malware, some kind of spyware in it, okay? If it was made in America, you wouldn't have to worry about it. Where there are a lot of components in that control America's infrastructure that have programmable components in them, and these were made in China. So if we upset China, or let's say we go to war against China, the first thing they can do is just push a button and boom, our infrastructure just collapses around us. So we sit there watching the country burn. So that's what that's about. TB screening for people coming into the country, as well as those working in critical parts of the food chain and educational system. And that's because, me being a scientist, I understand scientific aspects. Tuberculosis is the biggest killer of all human beings for eternity. As long as human beings have been around, tuberculosis has killed more people than all diseases combined. And I believe, if you look back in history and you add up all of the fatalities that occurred because of war, and you add up all the fatalities that occurred because of any disease, I think that tuberculosis is actually still higher than that. So if you consider every means by which human beings can die unnaturally, tuberculosis is still on top. Okay, so having people who come into the country screened for tuberculosis, and having people in the food industry and critical infrastructure parts, teachers, students, people screened for tuberculosis. I remember when I was a kid, they screened us for tuberculosis. So that's kind of an important thing, okay? So now let's go. 5-pillar blueprint for empowered local governments. And this is where, as a representative, each congressional district has a certain towns in there. The mayor of each town will be required under this act to create a plan, and that plan is going to be how the town is going to utilize any kind of federal funding to make improvements to infrastructure, job availability, housing, food availability, and fuel availability. Okay, so every mayor of every town will have to create this plan, submit the plan to the representative to find out what federal funding could be necessary, and so we can get that federal funding. You see, this doesn't happen now. People just say, well, I want as much as I can possibly get, and so forth. So that's just an organizational thing. That's the 5 pillars. Okay, so reasonable operational space, and this is the part where you'll see protesters come right up to a police officer, and blah, 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 this kind of stuff, and that's not good for the police officer. My tax dollars are paying for that cop to be there. I want that cop to be in a safe working environment, and so I think that there should be a safe, reasonable distance that any person has to be away from a police officer. If that person violates that, then the person can be detained, taken away, not necessarily put into hardcore prison or anything, but detained, removed from an area, and that will help to tone down any kind of potential for violent activity. So that's an important thing there, I think. So Measles Vaccination Act. Now this is kind of an important thing. It's like I went over before. The most important virus of all viruses that exist, the most important virus to vaccinate against is measles, because if you were to catch measles, measles will cause your immune system to, well, measles attacks your immune system. Okay, so after it attacks your immune system's down for 2 to 3 years. And if you're a child with a down immune system for 2 to 3 years, that could mean you'd survive the measles. The measles would be no big deal. You survive the measles just fine. But any kind of secondary infection would be, potentially fatal. So I want to make sure that everybody in America gets the measles vaccine as a child, and that the measles vaccine itself is provided safely. Make sure all of the substances in the vaccine are safe. Make sure that the processes that make the vaccine are safe. That, basically I want to make sure that when you get the measles vaccine, it does its job and it doesn't hurt you in any way. Okay, so that's that part there. The American Talent First Act, and this is where I was talking about, I think last week or the week before, how American corporations get financial incentives from Congress to go overseas and recruit people from other countries to come and do jobs in America, which I have no problem with. I love the idea of people coming to America and sharing their talent. I want that to happen. The problem is these financial incentives could be more valuable than our homegrown talent. And what tends to happen is corporations will say, well, if we can hire this person from overseas to come here and do this job, we get a $50,000 tax credit. But if we hire a person locally, a domestic talent, to do the same job, we don't get that $50,000 tax credit. So what are we going to do? We're going to go for whatever gives us a tax credit, which means the American government is actually paying corporations not to hire Americans. I want to eliminate that. I want to get rid of it. Like I said, I want more jobs for Oregon, and that's one way to get more jobs for Oregon, okay? So immunotherapy for cancer. This has been around since the 1890s. Cancer is an illness that can be treated effectively in many cases by improving the body's immune system. And I want more research to go into that, and I want Oregon to be the place where that research happens. I think it would be a terrifically valuable thing for Oregon. So, and to promote in-person voting by showing legitimate security concerns. And the security concerns that I was talking about were the electronic concerns. And like I was saying, these voting booths and so forth, they have the programmable logic controllers in them that they maintain the count, they figure out the votes and so forth. They can be controlled externally. So if China or Russia wanted, let's say, Joe Biden to win or Donald Trump to win or Peggy Sue whatever to win, they could just make a little adjustment in the software and say, hey, this person won the election. Okay, so I don't want American elections to be controlled by other countries. The best way to do that is in-person voting, because any kind of electronic system, any kind of send-in ballots, that is corruptible, okay? So those are the 10 things that I've already worked on. And today I want to go over another thing, and this is, oh, yep, I got my map of Europe out there. Okay, first of all, I want to establish, I know where you're going to go with this immediately. Don't go there, okay? I'm going to talk about Germany and their history for a little while, okay? Back during the American Revolution, we sent in our, what was it, our walking papers, basically. And in 1776, we sent in, what did we send to England? Our founding document, not the Constitution, but the Declaration of Independence. Okay, I'm old. Hey, I got an excuse, I'm old. The Declaration of Independence was sent to England. That's our walking paper saying, hey, look, you guys are great, you're lovely and everything. We need to be on our own. These are our list of grievances. we're gone. And England didn't like that too much, so boom, American Revolution, after the Revolution, Constitution, blah, 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 all that stuff. And now here we are. Condensed history of America, okay? Germany was not, at the time, an actual country, okay? And I'm going to go on to the map right here. This is what Europe looks like presently, okay? Now, France and England, at the time of the American Revolution, were both pretty much the same as they are right there. Germany, the big orange thing that you see there, it did not actually exist. What it was, there were a whole bunch of smaller kingdoms, and that entire place was ruled by the Ottoman Empire in the south and the Prussian Empire up in the north. Okay? Now, what happened was people from Germany, and by the way, they don't call it Germany in Germany, they call it Deutschland. The word Germany, comes from, that is the Holy Roman Empire was up there and in control. Germany, Germans, that refers to the people who live in the woods, okay? So basically, a bunch of dirty hippies that live in the woods. That's what the word German and Germany refer to. It's a bunch of dirty hippies that live up in the woods. Yeah, they got blonde hair and blue eyes, and they speak something other than English, whatever. But anyways, so Germany, the country, did not exist, but there were people there. And so England went over to where Germany is now and got a bunch of people to bring to America to help fight the American Revolution, to fight against our ancestors, okay? Well, the German people, the Germanic people, they were pretty good warriors, pretty good soldiers, and they came to help fight the American Revolution. And what they found was these Americans, what's going on with them? A bunch of them are old people, young people. It's not really an organized army. It's not the kind of army that they were expecting. Why are they even fighting? This is stupid. And when the Americans won, when the Revolutionary Party won against England, the German soldiers just couldn't believe it. They were just, how did these people win against England? England was the greatest fighting force on the planet. They had the best navy, the best military, the best generals, the best everything. How on earth did these hillbillies and farmers, these old people and kids and like that, how did they win against England? The German people, they just couldn't believe that. And that must have been a really quiet boat ride back home to Germany. So when they got back to Germany, these people who helped to fight against the American forces, they were thinking, if these Americans can fight against the English Empire and win, it's entirely possible we could create our own republic, our own country. We could have our own Deutschland. We could have our own country. And so that's when the German people started to fight against the Ottoman Empire in the south and the Prussian Empire in the north, and they started to win. And every time they won a battle, it's like, hey, Deutschland, yay, this is great. And so what happened was eventually they expanded to, well, actually a much bigger area than this, okay? The Germany you see right there was at one time a much larger area, but they expanded militarily into a lot of areas there, okay? Into what the German people would consider to be Deutschland, okay? Now, if you were to talk to a German person, a person from Germany around 1900, and you ask that person, what do you consider Deutschland to be? That person would say, well, Germany, Poland, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Austria, Hungary, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Denmark, those areas. That they would consider that to be Deutschland. All right. And so World War II was really a continuation of the German idea of obtaining an independent republic that contains all of the states that are considered to be Deutschland. Okay, so World War I, World War II, and Germany itself came into existence as an independent state somewhere around, I think it was 1867, 1876, somewhere around, I think it was 1867, okay? So there was no country called Germany or Deutschland until, I think it was 1867. Okay, I forget that. I'm sorry if it doesn't really matter. But anyway, so up until World War I, the Deutschland, the people of Deutschland, where they were expanding, and they were basically creating their own independent constitutional republic. And they were basing their expansion and what they were doing on the United States, what the United States had done. You know, they wanted to be like America. They saw America getting its independence from England. They wanted their independence from the Ottoman Empire and the Prussian Empire. That's perfectly natural. They saw America expanding west, and they wanted to expand. So what Germany was doing is what they saw America doing. They were taking after us. They wanted life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. They wanted freedom from an oppressive empire in the north and the south, and that's what they were doing. So the the Deutschland that they talk about is present-day Germany and the other countries that I talked about. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about now is NATO. Okay, and what NATO, a North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and this is after World War II, NATO came into existence, and basically it's an agreement from the North Atlantic, countries, all the countries in Europe, basically how they are going to act as a unified force. Okay, so NATO, all right, but it's some kind of weird treaty that I'm not exactly familiar with it. I'm not familiar enough with it, but what my suggestion is this. Since NATO has become an unbalanced security arrangement, placing a disproportionate burden on the United States, this proposal outlines a peaceful and voluntary pathway for European nations to unify under a shared constitutional framework. What I want to do, okay, the proposed republic, I want to create a republic, a constitutional republic of Germany, basically the United States of Germany. And this has nothing to do with Hitler. It's got nothing to do with world domination or the Nazi Party or anything like that. This just has to do with a constitutional republic existing in Europe that contains all of the countries that consider themselves to be part of Deutschland. And those places are, like I said, Germany, the Czech Republic, Austria, Hungary, Chechnya, Slovakia, Poland, Denmark, Netherlands, probably Belgium, maybe not Belgium, Luxembourg, maybe Switzerland, Liechtenstein, those places. All the countries I mentioned before, okay? They would all consider themselves to be part of Deutschland because they all consider themselves to be very similar physically and spiritually, intellectually, and so forth. So all of those countries would more than likely want to be part of a constitutional republic, just like America is a constitutional republic. And that's really what World War I and World War II were about. Were Germany wanting to be a constitutional republic that contains all of these states that I mentioned, okay? So what I am proposing is that we go ahead and just allow Germany and all of these states of Deutschland to be a constitutional republic. it just makes perfect sense. Let them all be states, independent states in a constitutional republic, just like the United States of America is all of the states are part of a constitutional republic. Okay, now this, the proposed republic would allow Europe to assume full responsibility for its own defense, reduce American military expenditures abroad, and usher in a new era of principled alliances grounded in mutual sovereignty and constitutional order. The name of the proposed republic would be the United States of Germany, and in German it is Die Vereinigten Staaten von Deutschland. Okay, and I don't know if I know I didn't pronounce that properly, but anyway, basically it's the United States of Germany, a constitutional republic in Europe, okay? And the goal is to establish a voluntary federation of European states, strengthen regional defense and economic independence, to preserve national sovereignty and cultural identity, to provide an alternative to supranational bureaucracy, that's basically the whole European Union, to offer long-term stability, opportunity, and liberty, okay? And the founding members would be Germany, Austria, Luxembourg, Liechtenstein, the Netherlands, Denmark, Poland, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary. Those would be, the founding states of the United States of Germany, okay? And that's what that would do is, like I said, it would relieve America of the financial burden of sending troops over there to defend. Okay, I mean, we could still have our military bases over there, but it would be up to Europe to defend Europe. Okay, and I mean, they have the ability. They can make weapons, they can make airplanes and tanks and bombs and all the good stuff that they need to defend themselves. This would just relieve America of the burden. And the great thing is, America right now is, pretty much alone in the world as the superpower. We're a constitutional republic, and there aren't many like us. And the ones that do claim to be constitutional republics, what we need is an additional constitutional republic like America to help with world stability, okay? And now the next thing that I want to suggest is the same type of thing in Asia, okay? So this would be, and here we have Asia here, okay? Japan, Philippines, Vietnam, all these little countries in Asia form what is called the Association of, there we are, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, okay? This is a concept for a Pan-Asian Constitutional Republic, PACR, built upon federated union of sovereign states, beginning with a unified Korea. And that's something I'll get to in a minute, the unified Korea. The first phase would be a peaceful unification of North and South Korea, very negotiated leadership and buyouts. Following that reunification, Japan would assume a coordinating role to integrate the newly unified Korea, Japan, with the ASEAN members states into a single federal culture governed by a written constitution, a clear division of powers, and robust guarantees of individual rights. So basically, I want to suggest, my suggestion is to create, to help in the creation of two constitutional republics, the United States of Germany and the Pan-Asian Constitutional Republic. Okay, so basically we have three constitutional republics in the world, and each of us can depend on the other. Why do I want to do this? Well, because America is being financially burdened just way too much. We are paying for everybody's defense. Germany and Japan can both, they can build airplanes, tanks, ships, submarines, missiles, everything they need to defend themselves. They can do that. Okay, and as a free, independent, constitutional republic, I'm just going to call it the United States of Germany, the United States of Japan, the United States of America. Well, let's say the United States of Asia. Okay, United States of Asia, the United States of Germany, the United States of America. The three of us could come together and I don't want to say rule the world. What I want to say is protect the world from, like, okay, let's say what's happening in China right now, okay? Taiwan is part of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, but they are standing alone as just a country. They're out there alone. If push comes to shove, none of the other countries in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations are really going to come to the rescue of Taiwan. But if Taiwan was a state, an independent state in a constitutional republic with Japan as the leader, then China probably wouldn't be so crazy about taking over Taiwan. Okay, now something else that China does, China has a fishing fleet. Thousands of fishing trawlers, probably about 10,000 fishing trawlers. And what they do is they will go to parts of the world and they will scoop up all of the fish that exist in an area. And this has happened all over the world, just all over the world. Okay, China will lend money to certain countries and say, hey, all we want to do is come over and fish for a while. And these countries will say, yeah, sure, there's plenty of fish in the sea. You guys can come over and fish. Well, China lends a country billions of dollars and the country uses it to build their infrastructure. And then China comes along with their 10,000 vessel fishing fleet and just literally just turns the ocean into, it's just a desert. There are no fish left when China gets finished. Okay, so they scoop up everything and take it all back to China. All right. Now, the only thing that's preventing China from doing that really is America. We have some influence with China. If we had a constitutional republic in Europe that was as strong as one could be, if we have a constitutional republic set up in Asia, then we have three constitutional republics that could work together to try to police rogue countries like China, Russia. I mean, Russia invading the Ukraine right now. The Ukraine, it's been shown the Ukraine will fight back against military targets. Just recently, the Ukraine had some drone strikes on some Russian bombers. They knocked out like, 5, 10, 15 bombers in the Russian bomber fleet, right? And that's a pretty significant hit. So in order to get the Ukraine back, Russia just fired a bunch of missiles into Ukraine. They hit apartment buildings, schools, hospitals, libraries. They didn't really hit anything, military significant. They just fired a bunch of rockets into the Ukraine. Well, if there were three constitutional republics in the world standing together, Russia, China probably wouldn't be, as crazy to do stuff like that. So I'm not saying that we would rule the world. What I'm saying is that we would have more influence to regulate any kind of bad things that the rest of the world, somebody in the rest of the world would want to do. Okay, so by balancing Chinese, India, and Russian influence, by uniting key East and the Southeast Asian states under one constitutional framework, the PACR would create a counterweight to dominate land-based powers, China, India, and Russia, and reinforce rules based on order anchored in democratic norms. Okay, and that's what I'm saying is, the United States kind of polices stuff that's happening here in North, South, and Central America. Europe and Asia would be great also. But And I know there's going to be complications, okay? Russia is not going to want a constitutional republic on the east and the west. They're going to say, hey, now we're surrounded. So that's something that we would have to negotiate with Russia about, okay? Because we don't want to make Russia feel threatened, because bad stuff could happen, okay? Missiles start flying, nuclear bombs start dropping. We don't want that to happen. But we do want more constitutional republics, more independent republics that can, prevent bad people from doing bad things. Okay, so anyways, economic integration process. Okay, a unified Korea. Okay, this is where I get to the unified. The integration of North Korea's resources, minerals, arable land with South Korea's high-tech economy would generate vast growth potential similar to post-reunification gains in Germany. Infrastructure investment in former East Germany. Okay. Japan plus the ASEAN, Japan's advanced manufacturing and technological base paired with ASEAN's demographic growth and emergent markets can create a single large economic bloc rivaling the US and EU in scale. And that's a good thing for them, because right now they're getting a lot of their influence. A lot of things that influence Asia have absolutely nothing to do with Asia. Okay, I mean, there are a lot of countries in Asia that they consider themselves, well, third world countries. How are we a third world country? We've been living like this for, 30,000 years. 30,000 years ago, our people came to these little islands in the South Pacific, and they created a society. They've been living like this for 30,000 years. How is it all of a sudden they're a third world country? It's crazy. But a lot of the things that influence Asia don't have anything to do with Asia. So as a unified constitutional republic, the smaller countries of Asia could stand together to prevent negative influences from causing problems in Asia. Okay, it's the same thing in Europe, the United States of Deutschland, the United States of Germany, that is. They could stand together to prevent any kind of negative effects from, causing them any problems. Okay, so really, it's a good thing for everybody involved. All right, so, and here's my proposal. I just want to buy them out, a peaceful buyout of North Korea's elite. Okay, cost about $4 billion to buy out 4,000 key military, political, and security figures at $1 million each. And about $6 billion package for Kim Jong-un and his family, including lifetime security, luxury exile, and complete immunity. So the total buyout would be about $10 billion one-time cost. But let's say that's double, okay? Let's say we got to pay more than that. Let's say it's $20 billion, okay? Getting the military people out of North Korea, there would be complications. Once again, we'd have to talk with Russia and China about this. It would be a very difficult process. They would not want, they like having North Korea up there, the fact that that acts as a barrier to, any kind of attack that South Korea, Japan, United States might do. So they act as a barrier, okay? So if we were to just pay the people, though all of the people in government in North Korea right now that have any kind of influence, any kind of power, let's just pay each one of them enough money that they can leave North Korea, go to China or Russia or some other place and just live a nice lifestyle, get a nice house, raise their family, give them all blanket immunity on all of them so that they don't have to worry about any bad stuff coming back on them. And say, like, look, guys, just get out of North Korea. All of the people who are in charge of North Korea, here's $1 million. Go buy a condo or go buy a timeshare in Maui or something like that. Just live there. Live out your life there. You've got plenty of money. Nobody knows your name. Nobody knows anything you've done. Just get out of North Korea, all right? And that's just going to leave North Korea to the North Koreans and the South Koreans. They can unify their country. Right now, South Korea has a problem with food. They do not have enough farmland in South Korea to feed their population. They also have a lot of people in South Korea who have chosen, well, I mean, they can't have families because living in South Korea is so incredibly expensive. Allowing a unification between North and South Korea to happen would actually be financially beneficial because right now, well, here, let's go over, I've got the slides and everything. $100 to $200 billion investment in modernizing North Korea's agriculture. It would unlock over 5.8 million acres of farmland, allowing South Korea to achieve food independence and even become a food exporter. Reduces South Korea's $35 to $40 billion annual food import bill by 25 to 30%. And that's what I'm talking about. South Korea does not have the ability to feed itself. Unifying North Korea and South Korea would provide South Korea with the farmland it needs to create the food so it can become food independent, okay? So the $10 billion or $20 billion that it would cost to buy out everybody in North Korea, we could recoup that buyout cost within 1 to 2 years through food savings alone. So that would be a very, very good thing, okay? So the billions of years, over 30 years to integrate North Korea's population, programs for healthcare, education, infrastructure, and local governance that follows the East-West Germany reunification model, but scaled to modern technologies and regional conditions, okay? So essentially, I'm going to go that a little bit later, essentially, reunify North and South Korea. That would provide military and economic stability, political stability in the area. It would cost $10 to $20 billion to do it, but ultimately it would be worth the effort. Talk to Russia and China, see, hey, what are your requirements for us to do this? And I'm sure China and Russia would both say, you can never have any military in North Korea at all, ever. And that would be fine, because really the only thing that South Korea wants is farmland. You give them the farmland in North Korea, they will farm it, they will produce there, they'll do it very well, they'll do it a whole heck of a lot better than it's being done now, and it will create a lot of food for the people in South Korea. Families could move up there and they could start having children again. This would be a good thing for the whole area, okay? So yeah, $10 to $20 billion to get all of the bad people in North Korea out so that South Korea and North Korea could unify. That would be a wonderful thing. And then you could work on getting the Pan-Asian constitutional republic put together, okay? So 2 additional constitutional republics in the world. Now, this is not something the United States can make happen. It's just something we can suggest, we can deal with. And we've got Donald Trump, one of the best deal makers in the world, in Washington right now. If anybody could make this work, Donald Trump will be able to make it work. I'm certain he could do that. So anyways, that is the first suggestion I have, and that's something that I would work on if I went to Washington. I'm not gonna dedicate a lot of time to it because I want, like I said, Oregon and Oregon's 6th Congressional District would be my primary focus. This would just be a suggestion that we could drive, okay? So I want to talk now about the whole thing that's happening all across America with the so-called peaceful protests. And I'm going to take sort of a non-biased side here, okay? I mean, I'm a conservative Republican, but I understand people. I have a really terrific understanding of people. And you see there on the left, it says insurrection compared to peaceful protest. And oh no, right there, I can't quite figure out how you can proudly wave the flag of another country but consider it punishment to be sent back there. Well, here's the thing. You got St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day, everybody's waving around the flag of Ireland. I mean, you don't really want to go back to Ireland, but you're just proud. Hey, I'm part Irish. Yay, let's drink green beer. Okay, these people aren't flying the Mexican flag around to say, America sucks, turn it into Mexico. They're flying it around, they're saying, hey, look, this is my heritage. Okay, my ancestors came up from Mexico. In fact, California used to be part of Mexico. So this is their heritage, and I love Mexican heritage. I think Mexican heritage is beautiful. The Mexican people are wonderful. Mexico is a beautiful country. Fly the flags around as much as you want. I don't have any problem with it. The people who create memes on the internet, that's their whole job, is to create memes that people notice, and that's how that one got noticed, okay? This one got noticed. Hey, these people are flying the Mexican flag, but they don't want to be deported to there. No, they don't want to be deported to there, but the same people who fly Irish flags around and celebrate St. Patrick's Day, I'm sure they don't want to be deported to Ireland for flying the Irish flag. So, you know what? Quit talking about these people who fly the Mexican flag. They're Hispanic descent, they're Mexican descent. It's a beautiful country, they're beautiful people. Leave them alone, they want to fly their flag. Great, I got no problem with that, okay? Now for the peaceful protesters thing, well, let me get to that later, okay? So this is all happening in Los Angeles, it's a Democrat city, and just because something is happening in a Democrat city, that doesn't mean Democrats are doing it or supporting it. Most of the chaos and destruction is due to professional protesters who probably make between $100,000 and $150,000 a year. And that's because, I mean, who else can go to a protest all day and all night long but paid protesters? Everyone else has a job. And that's what I'm talking about. Like the Los Angelinos, they don't like the looting and the protests and everything, and really the looting and protesting, that's a very small part of Los Angeles. So really it's not like the whole city is burning down or anything, okay? But the protesters that are there, more than likely they're part of the paid protest, but they aren't all paid protesters. Some of those people are doing violent things that paid protesters aren't going to do. And that's like looting, okay? I mean, look at this. This is looting. Look at what that guy has. He's got a box full of candies. Why? I mean, why does he go in there and steal that? He's facing 5 years in prison for looting, and he steals like $20 worth of candy that he's probably never going to eat. And I saw some guy, he just went into a convenience store and he decided to loot it, and he just grabbed the rack that has cigarette lighters on it. Why do you want a rack full of cigarettes? That's just stupid, okay? So anyways, this is my point. They aren't actually, the people, the paid protesters, they aren't actually committing the violence, they're inciting it. The same way a stripper gets someone to spend $1,000 on lap dances, the paid protesters look for the same kind of person that the strippers look for, and that kind of person is a simp, okay? I'm sure you've been to the strip clubs. You get these beautiful women up there on stage. They dance around and guys throw money up there, and the stripper looks at them and goes, "Ooh, thank you," and smiles at them, and the guy thinks, "Hey, this girl likes me." Yeah, the stripper doesn't like you. Okay, the stripper does not like you. You keep throwing money up on there, the stripper will keep smiling at you. You stop throwing money up there, the stripper's not going to even look at you again, okay? So it's the same way with these paid protesters. The paid protesters go around looking for people who are simps, okay? And that's, let me get on here. Yep, these guys, some more of these guys. Now look at this. They're stealing Doritos. These guys are looting Doritos. Look at all the bottles of water back there. I mean, if I was going to loot something, I think I would grab a bottle of water because, I mean, I'm going to be thirsty. These guys are facing time in prison so that they can steal a $3 bag of Doritos. Give me a break. That is not rational behavior, okay? These people are all simps, and they are simping for the paid protesters. Okay? And just like strippers do, these paid protesters look for the stupid and lonely people who have nothing to commit to, so they seek a sense of self-importance by aligning their activities with the people they believe are important. Okay, so that's a simp is a simpleton or naive and gullible person. And who do they think is important? Some muscly guy who's standing up on a car waving the Mexican flag. That's who they think is important. They think, hey, these people are important and this is an important cause. So I'm going to run in here and I'm going to trash the place and grab useless crap for no particular reason because it's going to make the paid protesters think that I'm special or something. You know, just the same way it's like I'm going to throw a whole bunch of money up on stage so that the stripper will think that I'm special. And maybe that stripper will tell me her fake real name or something, you know? And that's what strippers, I've dated enough strippers, I know about this, okay? It's like what happens is you have a stripper and her stage name will be like Bubbles or something, right? And so the first thing that, you know, she's gonna come sit down on some guy's lap and, you know, hey, Bubbles, how you doing? And she's gonna say, oh, that's not my real name. My real name is, I don't know, Dolores or something like that. Well, that's also not her real name. That's what's called a fake real name. She tells you that because if you know what you think is her real name, she's going to, you know, you're going to be thinking, wow, she really likes me. I'm going to put more money up on that stage, right? And it's the same thing with the paid protesters. The paid protesters are going to try to create some kind of bond with you, with the simps, so that the simps will go out there and do all these stupid things. They're going to face prison time. They're going to have to keep their faces masked and everything because they don't want to be caught. They're going to throw rocks at the police and everything because they're seriously thinking that doing all this stuff makes them valuable to society. It doesn't. Okay, throwing money up on the stage does not make the stripper like you, and doing all this stuff that these paid protesters incite you to do does not make you a valuable member to society. It doesn't make you part of some kind of revolution. You are a simp. That's it. You're just a simp, okay? So, okay, like I said, the simp will spend this month's rent money because that pretty girl on stage smiled at me. And a simp will go to jail and carry a felony charge because that person leading the protest thinks I'm important, okay? And just, I mean, look at this. What's that guy looting? That guy is looting a couple of 12 packs of, I don't know, energy drink, okay? Why? I mean, look at that. There's a box there. There's a box of Pepsi right there on the ground. I mean, you can just go there, pick up some Doritos and some Pepsi and walk away with them. Why are you looting this stuff? Why are you facing time in jail to get this stuff? Well, that's because you're a simp. You're stupid. You're gullible. You're naive. You are doing the work that the paid protesters want you to do so that they don't have to go to jail, so that they can return to their little mansions at home. Remember, the paid protesters are making up to $150,000 a year, maybe even more than that. They are living in nice mansions while you are facing prison time for stealing a couple cans of soda pop. Okay, that's the same thing with strippers, okay? The stripper is living a nice, luxurious lifestyle while you are starving because you spent this month's rent at the strip club, okay? You're a simp. You're a dumbass. You're naive and gullible, okay? Getting arrested does not make you important. Just like dropping $1,000 does not make the stripper like you. You are a simp if you take part in these stupid protests, okay? And this is exactly what George Carlin was talking about when he said, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large numbers. You go to a strip club and you are going to see dozens of stupid, desperate old men just surrounding a stage, throwing money up onto the stage. Hey, honey, I love you. Come sit with me. No, here's money, here's money, here's money. Okay? stupid people in large numbers at the strip club, okay? Stupid people in large numbers on the streets of Los Angeles, rioting, looting, breaking things, starting cars on fire, doing all of that stuff just to make some paid protester happy. Okay, this paid protester is thinking, well, I'm going to go home to my $1 million mansion that's being financed for me by, I don't know, Think Blue. Yeah, Think Blue is the Democrat organization that gets all the money and everything. You know, they get money, they pay these paid protesters to, go out and make an appearance, and they don't really care what happens. They don't care, if people go to jail for attacking police or if police get hurt or whatever. They're just saying, hey, we are financing the Democratic Party and their free speech. And they're like, everything that the paid protesters are doing is covered under free speech. The stuff that the simps are doing isn't covered. Okay, the simps are just doing it because they're simps. They're going to go home with worthless crap that they looted from some store, and they may face prison time. They probably will. But I mean, they're going to lose their jobs. They're going to lose any potential they have to go to college or whatever. They're just doing stupid stuff for the dumbest of reasons. And this is what George Carlin meant when he said, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large numbers. That's just really, really dumb. Okay. Now, this is where I'm going to say, hold on tight. Don't give up. Suck it up while Trump is in charge, because this is a very important thing. Donald Trump's got another 3.5 years. Be prepared. There's going to be a lot of stupid simps out there. There's going to be a lot of stupid people in large numbers doing dumb things. He's going to send out the military. He's going to send out the police, the National Guard. Try to control these stupid people until these stupid people stop doing stupid things. The simps are going to be out in full force, fatherless behavior, basically. After it's all over. After it's all over in 3.5 years, America is going to have a reawakening, okay? Something good is going to happen, and this is what I'm saying is going to happen, okay? Tulsi Gabbard will be the first female president of the United States. I'm saying that, I'm predicting it. Tulsi Gabbard will be the first female president of the United States. And why is that important? Well, that's important because, and you look at this, see, Donald Trump is a builder. He is a creator. He builds, he creates, he makes things. He sees the big picture. He's a very big picture person. And one of the reasons I can't speak for Donald Trump, it's kind of obvious to me. Donald Trump is not a misogynist. He's not a woman hater. He's not a bad person or anything. In fact, he very much appreciates empowered women. When he built Trump Towers, Trump Towers was Donald Trump's first project, and it was like his most important project, okay? The project manager that he put in charge of Trump Towers was a female. All right? And if you look at Donald Trump's legacy, he is very much in favor of empowering women to accomplish things, empowering women so that they can live an independent lifestyle. Because an empowered person, not just women, not just empowered, an empowered man or an empowered woman has more choices in life. If you are not empowered, then you are at the mercy of whoever is in power. Okay, and if that person who is in power is a corrupt person, a corrupt manager or something like that, if you have a really crappy job, your manager is some crazy person who just wants you to work 48 hours a day, and so that's a bad situation. If you had a college degree in engineering, math, science, software design, something like that, you wouldn't have to work this crappy job. You could go out and get a better job. And you see, Donald Trump has a daughter, And he wanted his daughter to be empowered. He wanted his daughter to have all of the choices in the world that she would need, so she wouldn't have to make certain choices. And that's what Donald Trump likes to encourage people to be empowered. Okay? Not dominant, but just have choices. You get yourself an education, have yourself a decent lifestyle, get a good work ethic together, and you are now empowered to go out into the world as an independent person. Nobody's going to control you. Nobody's going to tell you what to do or how to live or how to think. You're going to be able to do things for yourself. Well, Tulsi Gabbard is an example of a person that Donald Trump is building. He has been building Tulsi Gabbard up to be a person who can take charge, who can work independently, think independently, work in the political realm, work as a part of the executive branch, understand how the executive branch works, and she's been doing very well. Now, she did run for president back a long time ago, and if she had gotten the nomination in 2020 for president, I would have voted for Tulsi Gabbard, because I think she's a terrific leader. I think she's a very intelligent, very smart person. I think she understands the need for politicians. She understands the requirements for politicians. I think she's got a lot of character, and I don't think she's in it just for the money or the prestige. I think she seriously wants to do something to help make America a better place, or to help, well, at least to not let us slide off and become a worse place. Okay, and the great thing about Tulsi Gabbard is nobody hates her. Okay, Donald Trump, yeah, a lot of people hate Donald Trump. Okay, about 50% of the people in America are like, oh, Donald Trump again, I hate that guy. Yeah, he's kind of the kind of a person who's not really super likable, but that's never really been part of being a president. It's not in the Constitution. People have to like him. Well, Tulsi Gabbard is a person that people don't hate. They trust. They have faith in her. She was a Democrat. Now she's a Republican. And like I said before, the difference between real Democrats and real Republicans in Congress is very small. Republicans understand Democrats, Democrats understand Republicans, and most Republicans and Democrats work together to get legislation passed that will help America. A lot of times, Democrats or Republicans will vote along party lines, but those are just things that they do. A lot of times, they'll vote just what's best for America, okay? And Tulsi Gabbard is one of those people who can go along both party lines. She, like I said, she was a Republican, she was a Democrat, now she's a Republican. Nobody really hates her. She doesn't really have a bad reputation as somebody who did anything bad. Hillary Clinton, she had sort of a few problems in her political past, so people might not have trusted her very much. What's her name? The vice president, cackling Kamala. I mean, come on, seriously. Why would anybody vote for cackling Kamala? She's just, oh God, seriously, no. So Tulsi Gabbard, what Donald Trump is doing, and you can see right there, I mean, he's like looking at her kind of the way he looked at Trump Towers. He's like, yes, she will be a fine president. And I think that she will be a fine president. I predict that after Donald Trump is finished, Tulsi Gabbard will run for the office of presidency, and she will be voted in. And the reason she'll be voted in is because when Donald Trump is there, he will have things working really well. The Republican Party will be looking good. And I think the people who will be running against Tulsi Gabbard are going to be like AOC and Bernie Sanders and these people. I don't think the Democrats will really have anybody who could go up against Tulsi Gabbard. I think that America will love to have the idea of their first president, the first female president. I think America will embrace Tulsi Gabbard and think that she's somebody that America can work with. So Yeah, I think that ultimately at the end of Donald Trump's presidency, you're going to be seeing Tulsi Gabbard running for president, and my prediction is that she becomes president. She becomes the first female president of the United States, which I think will be an awesome and wonderful thing. And I know people are going to be saying like, well, technically, Cackling Kamala was president of the United States for like 3 hours. No, no, that's a totally different thing, okay? So anyhow, so that's the end of where I'm coming from here. And like I always say, never underestimate the collective potential for tyranny and hypocrisy from strategically placed, ideologically indoctrinated politicians and the activists who enable them. Okay, and that's, you know, George Carlin saying his thing. And by the end of Donald Trump's presidential term, there will be 3 camps in America: the faithful, the awakened, the stragglers. The faithful, who have always committed to supporting him; the awakened, who eventually came around to support him; the stragglers, who chose credibility over comfort, knowing it would cost them a seat in their groupthink echo chamber. Your camp, faithful, awakened, or straggler, will be entirely up to you. And if you're wondering what it is or how I was inspired to do that, it was Scripture. Actually, a part of the Bible. You have Matthew 20, where you have some guy that's harvesting his vineyards. And the whole lesson behind that is it doesn't matter when you find yourself on the right path, early, mid, or late, as long as you find yourself on the right path. Okay, so I'm not trying to insult or berate anybody. I'm just saying that Donald Trump is on the right path, and by choosing that path, you are doing the right thing. You are going away from the paid protesters, the purple hair and pronouns and so forth. Okay, so that's what I think America's future is you're going to be in one of those 3 camps. Okay, so anyways, my name's Tom Timbrooks. I'm running for the U.S. House of Representatives for Oregon's 6th Congressional District. I'm with the Republican Party. And my promise is to bring more jobs to Oregon so that we can reduce our dependence on government welfare. So thank you very much for listening to me. And in a year and a half when we got the election coming, I sure hope I've won over your desire to vote for me. Okay, so thank you very much for listening, and have a pleasant day.